You're thinking about making the move to Salem, Oregon, and you're wondering if it's going to be the right fit for you, the right decision, and if you're going to enjoy living here. And believe me, I understand what you're going through because I was in your shoes just a few years ago when my wife and I made the decision to relocate and move to the city of Salem in Oregon. Now, we came from a major city that may be you, and you maybe come from a similar size city, but we came from the city of Los Angeles, so it was a big adjustment for us. And I know there's a lot of people watching this in Oregon who may think, oh no, another California moving to Oregon, but we moved to Salem to get out of the big city life, and it met our needs, it met what we wanted to do for our family. But we still had a lot of reservations. We weren't sure if we were going to enjoy it completely. We did a lot of research, but videos truly helped with the decision-making process, because making a move, uprooting your life, and if you have a family, uprooting your kids is a major, major decision, and you want to make sure you're going to be comfortable when making that move, especially when coming from a larger city. So if that is you, make sure you stay tuned because we're going over the pros and cons of the city of Salem from my perspective, from someone who relocated like yourself to this awesome city. All right, we're going to start off with all of the pros first because I'm a positive person, but if you want to know some of the cons that I've experienced personally and talking to clients of mine and people that I know, then you're going to want to stay through this video because there are some negative aspects of living in Salem, Oregon that may just not be the right fit for you, and it may help in your decision-making process. So let's start with pro number one, and that is the location. What I love about living in Salem, Oregon is that you're pretty much central to everything you'd want to do in the state of Oregon. Now, we'll start off with just being an hour to an hour and a half south of Portland, major city, of course. And I say hour and a half because it really depends on what time of day that you travel and how deep into Portland that you're going, how far north you are going. But being that close gives you the proximity to enjoy all of the big city life, all the big city amenities, but not have to actually live the big city lifestyle. So if you're really yearning for some cultural experiences, like going to the various museums up in Portland, or going to the zoo, or experiencing some of the higher end shopping or some of the more fine dining, and you just want that big city feel, you're just about an hour and a half away from that. Now, going south, Eugene is going to be the next really major city, and that is going to be about an hour and 20 minutes or so going south. And that puts you into Eugene, where the University of Oregon is. And between that is Corvallis, where Oregon State is. Now, what's cool about being just an hour to an hour and a half from Portland and an hour and a half or so from Eugene is that you're close to some major airports. Now, Portland will take you anywhere you want to go throughout the country and the world for the most part. It's a major hub, major airport there, PDX, but it can be congested. Now, not as congested as some of your other major airports like Los Angeles, Denver, and Chicago, and places in New York and Washington, D.C., but it is a busy major airport. If you are flying more local, sticking to the West Coast or the western portion of the United States, then I suggest definitely getting down into Eugene, where it's a much smaller airport, a much better experience in my point of view. But you are centrally located to two big airports, and just a tip side note, they have opened up the Salem airport, so you really don't have to go anywhere if you're flying to Los Angeles, Las Vegas, and soon Phoenix. Avelo Airlines will fly into Salem. We'll talk about fly out of Salem. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Now, what else are you centrally located to? Well, you're just about an hour and 20 minutes from the coast, Lincoln City. So if you want to take advantage of some of that beach lifestyle, by all means, it's an easy drive. It's a beautiful drive. You're driving through some hills, some mountains, forests to get to the beach. And you rarely encounter any traffic. Now, I will say it's 1 to 2 lane highway, so if something does happen there, you can be backed up. But that has not been my experience. And once you get along the coast, it is beautiful. You get to enjoy all of what the Northwest and the Oregon coast has to provide. And so, again, just a really short drive. You can do a day trip there, no problem. Really easy to get in and out of. And for me, especially coming from Los Angeles, who was used to being kind of have that beach lifestyle, I like kind of that coast. I like seeing the ocean. It gives me a sense of freedom. And so it's not that far of a drive for me, and I do it quite often, actually. Now, if you want to go the other way towards the mountains, Detroit Lake, which is a big lake, good recreation there, and just into the mountains, if you're into snow and skiing, snowboarding, then you're just really about an hour to 2 hours, depending on where you are going into the mountains. But you're really close to that type of enjoyment and lifestyle as well. So Salem, close to Portland, pretty close to Eugene, close to the coastline, and close to the mountains. So you can see why you're really centrally located when you're living in Salem, so you can really access all points, all these great amenities that Oregon has to offer. As a reminder, I'm Dave Fein with the Real Estate Dads at eXp Realty right here in the city of Salem. And my team and I love helping people move to and relocate to this amazing city from all over the country. So if that's you, make sure you hit us up at the contact information below. If you like what you see, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell to get notified, comment below. I'd like to hear why you are thinking about making the move to Salem. All right, pro number 2, and this was a major draw for my family and I, is we like the small town feel. Now, I know people that are born and raised and have lived in Salem for a long time may not necessarily feel like Salem is small. Now, it's a population of just under 200,000 people, but when you're coming from a large city like myself, and maybe like you, I came from a city of 4 million people, which is outrageous. You can see why I wanted to get out of there. But even other major cities, even Portland or Philadelphia, New York, San Francisco, Denver, Seattle, wherever it is that you're coming from, if it's a big city, when you come to Salem, for me, I like the small town feel. I mean, we live in a city where the largest building is pretty much 9 stories tall outside of the capital. Side note, Salem is the capital of Oregon. Not that you really notice it too much besides the government buildings all throughout downtown. But I digress a little bit. Salem doesn't have a lot of tall buildings. In fact, most of them are 2 to 5 stories. And for me, it's kind of a breath of fresh air. I can see the sky. I can enjoy the sun when it's out. I'm just not overwhelmed, surrounded by brick, concrete, and steel buildings. There's a lot more nature here than there are buildings, and I love that about Salem. Now, the tallest buildings you are going to find are in that downtown area. And downtown itself, some people will say it's 7 square blocks, but really in reality, I think it's more like 4 square blocks. So even that in itself, you can see how it's kind of a smaller feel. And when you go to downtown, there's a lot of boutique shops, mom and pop shops, locally owned restaurants. And that's what I also love about Salem, because again, it goes back to that smaller town feel. You're not inundated with major franchises downtown or big box stores downtown. And again, it's a breath of fresh air when moving from a large city. Also, when you live in Salem, you're pretty much 10 to 20 minutes from anything you'd want to be. That'll take you to the outskirts of Salem. So if you're in downtown, you can go in any direction, go 20 minutes, and you're pretty much out of Salem, or at least out of the city portion of Salem. You get into the countryside, the wine country, the farms, and the rural part of Salem. And depending on where you are, it could be just 10 minutes. So when you think about that, if you're coming from a major city, it's, sprawled out like myself from Los Angeles, or even other cities where it's a lot larger in terms of square miles and time to get to places, Salem again is more refreshing in that way that you can pretty much access anything you want 10, 20-minute drive. Now, some people argue, depending on where you are, that it takes you that long to get to some of your amenities. But for me, again, coming from a larger city, I'm not stuck in traffic for the most part. I'm just driving, and driving 10 to 20 minutes versus being stuck in traffic is a much different feel. City of Salem is also a place where you kind of see the same faces over and over again, and that's what I also love about this community. I actually truly enjoy going to different community events or my kids' sporting events and seeing the same faces, because you get to really get to know people in a much more intimate way, in a better way, much more closer way than you would if you're just traveling all over through a bigger city. So pro number 2 definitely has that smaller town feel, especially if you're coming from a large city. And that was very important for us. That's what we wanted. Okay, pro number 3. Actually, before I get into pro number 3, make sure you stay to the end of the video, because I do have a bonus pro that if you don't know about it, it's a really cool, pretty sweet deal when living in Salem. So let's get into pro number 3, and that is outdoor recreation. That is one thing my family and I absolutely love, and Salem has a lot to offer when it comes to outdoor recreation. Now, I mentioned you're already just about an hour and change from the coastline, so from the beach, so if you want to take advantage of outdoor recreation there, and you're just about an hour to 2 hours, again, depending on where in the mountains you want to go, if you enjoy that type of recreation. But let's just focus now in the city of Salem itself. There are so many parks and hiking trails scattered throughout the city. In your own neighborhoods that you're living in, you can find trailheads just a few blocks from a lot of residential neighborhoods. You could be living right next door to a trailhead, and as far as hiking goes, And I love that part of Salem. I find the people here are more outdoorsy than I do in big cities. And, that kind of goes maybe without saying. You're used to a concrete jungle. There's not a lot of nature around you, not a lot of park space. So that is very refreshing. And it was one of the big draws for my wife and I, because we've got 2 young kids. They love being outdoors and they love being adventurous. And Salem does not disappoint. There are 2 major parks that we love going to. You have Riverfront Park, which is right adjacent to downtown along the Willamette River. Large park space, open fields, playgrounds. They've got a splash pad there. They've got an amphitheater there. And they've got a bridge that then takes you into Minto Island Brown Park, which is a big nature kind of reserve area. Again, lots of park space, huge dog park there, playground, and lots of walking trails. I won't call them hiking trails because it is flat, but beautiful, expansive walking trails right along the Willamette River, old growth trees, beautiful space. And this is all, for me personally, it's all 10 minutes, 15 minutes to get to either one of these parks. And it's heavily trafficked by a lot of people. You see people running there, jogging, walking groups. They have events at these parks. Dog groups get together there. You've got Bush Pasture Park, which is right adjacent to downtown as well. Again, lots of walking trails there, beautiful garden, historic homes there. They've got art shows there. They've got garden shows there. And then you have community parks scattered again throughout the city itself, in many of the neighborhoods. That not only do you have recreation centers, you've got your basketball courts, your baseball fields, tennis courts, your playgrounds, but a lot of those parks also have nice little walking trails that you can stroll around and enjoy nature right there within your own community. You also have the Willamette River that runs right through the city of Salem, and I do see people kayaking there. Sometimes once in a while people see kind of swimming or wading in the water, or people in inner tubes kind of floating in the river. All in all, when you're driving throughout the city of Salem and enjoying the park space, you're seeing people outdoors. And again, I mentioned it earlier, you're close to hiking, you're close to the snow, you're close to the ocean if you like that recreation. Also, I will mention Silver Falls, which is about a 45-minute drive outside the city. 7 beautiful, magnificent falls with lots of trails, which is close by. So again, Salem does encourage the outdoor lifestyle, and that is something I love about this city. Pro number 4 is that we live in wine and beer country. So if you are a wine aficionado, or you like drinking your beers, your local beers, then Salem is an amazing place for you. There are over 700 wineries and vineyards near the Salem area, not in the city itself, but in the wine country that's just adjacent, just north and west of the city. And you have about 20 breweries and 10 cider houses. Cider is a really big deal here in the Northwest, and Salem does not disappoint there. Now, being this close to the wineries is pretty special, especially if you love just kicking back, sipping wine, sampling wine. They're all really close to each other. It doesn't take much of a drive to get to each of the wineries, and it's beautiful landscape, beautiful countryside. The wineries itself are amazing, and you've got really knowledgeable people here in the wine country area. Pinot Noir is one of the biggest varieties here in the Northwest. A lot of these wineries do cater to families too, so if you are moving here with young kids and you want to sample wines, yeah, it may be fun to leave them at home, get a break from them. I get that, but they have activities for kids too. They've got cornhole, big Jenga, big Connect 4, and just plenty of outdoor space where kind of kids can run around and have fun while you're sipping your glass of wine, enjoying the cheese platter. And so it could be a family affair. A lot of these wineries have events and festivals. Highly recommend that during the season. So Pinot Noir lovers, wine lovers, beautiful countryside. You are right there. It's right adjacent to. It takes no time to get to. You just leave the city limits and boom, you're right inside wine country. Now, for those that you love beer and cider, that's a little bit more in the city itself. And you can find cider houses, taverns, and beer and breweries. And from what I understand, they don't disappoint either. I'm not a big cider or beer drinker, but I've got friends and family that are, and they swear by it. And it's also fun, lively places to go to. And that's right there in the city as well. Now, we are in our 5th pro. Again, if you like what you're seeing, subscribe to the channel. You'll get more content as we go through here. And hit that bell to get notified. Hit the like button. Also, comment below again. I'd love to hear why you're thinking about making that move to Salem, and if any of the pros are resonating with you as well. Now, pro number 5 was really big for my family and I, and that's community events. We love being a part of the community. My wife and I like coaching sports. We like going to different events and meeting people. And so this was a really big deal for us because, again, coming from a large city, we had many events in the city, but they were so hard to get to, almost too big in some ways, and they were scattered throughout the city and just a challenge. So what I love about Salem, again, going back to that small town feel, is that the city encourages the community to get together and kind of unite as one. And from an outside perspective who came here a few years ago, I really enjoy that, and my family has really enjoyed that in our time here so far. A lot of time you have seasonal events like Saturday Market right there in downtown Salem, right across from the Capitol. Every Saturday, starting in the morning, going through the afternoon, during the spring and summer, and into early fall. They've got Saturday Market, which is a big farmers market. We go there almost every Saturday to pick up some of our favorite baked goods, fresh produce. They've got really cool crafts. They've got food trucks there. And I won't say the whole city, but the city really shows out for this. They've got live music. They've got dance groups that are there. It's a really cool place to go to, especially because we have all the local farmers that surround the city of Salem. They all come here and sell their produce, and again, local artists, local crafters, and it's just a fun vibe. Great community event where you can meet up with friends and family and meet new people. There's also a lot of annual events that happen here in Salem. Some of our favorites are State Fair, which people from all over the state come here. It's right here in the city of Salem. I love that. It's massive. It's great to take the family. So much fun. You've got Ag Fest, which is another big event in the community. You've got holiday fairs. There's concerts in the park. There's Hoop LA, which they closed down many blocks in downtown, where they've got probably at least 40 to 50 games going at once, where basketball games, where people from all over the world come here to play outdoors downtown. They set up this massive event. They've got the Awesome 3000 run, where the community rallies around raising funds and raising money. It's a fun race for the kids. The Ironman, the Salem hosts the Ironman here right in Riverfront Park. So if you're into watching that, that is a great place to go and cheer on your favorite runner, or just enjoy the whole experience. They've got food, activities for kids. They also have the light show at Riverfront Park during the holidays, where they light up trees, they light up different apparatuses throughout the park. And again, it's another fun place to go. They bring Santa there. You can ride a sleigh, take photos. Some of the other events that they have throughout the year are Family Fest, World Beats, Sip and Stroll, the County Fair. So not just the State Fair, but also the County Fair. They got Soapbox Derby here. Yes, Soapbox Derby, which is pretty cool. And if you want to know anything about the events that are going on, there's a couple places you can look. That's travelsalem.com, so that's online. Also, when you're driving on Liberty Street into downtown, there's an area where they put a banner across the street. And pretty much every few weeks, they change that banner out, letting you know some of the local events that are going to be happening in the city. So it's kind of cool. They got tons of cultural events, tons of cultural outings at the different parks and throughout the city. Basically throughout the year, constantly having events throughout the city, especially at Riverfront Park, and it just brings the community together, and it really encourages a sense of unity, and I absolutely love that aspect of Salem. Okay, let's jump in some of the cons, some of the negatives about Salem, and again, this may affect your decision-making process. We certainly made some considerations when thinking about this. I'd like to hear what your concerns are about moving to Salem. I'm happy to answer any questions, so comment below, of course. So the first negative I would have is the lack of nightlife. So this really depends on where you are in your life and what you're looking for in your lifestyle. If I was in my 20s, and being completely honest here, I may have a little bit of a harder time making my way in Salem, because I was someone who liked the nightlife. I liked going to different bars and clubs, hanging out really late at night with my friends, having lots of different options, whether it was concerts, late night movies, late night restaurant outings. You're just not going to find that in Salem. So if that's what you're looking for, especially if you are making that move from your big city, you've got to come in knowing that you're just not going to have that experience. Now, for us, for my family and I, for my wife and I, that was not an important factor for us anymore. We didn't really take advantage of all of what the big city life had to offer. In fact, we didn't really like that anymore. We have 2 small kids now. Our priorities are a little bit different. And it wasn't just, we just kind of grew out of that for ourselves. Yeah, we like to go out for sure. We like to enjoy a good meal, good restaurant experience. We like to have a nice drink out on the town, but we don't need that club life. We don't need that bar life where we're up till 2 a.m. hanging out and partying all night. And so because we didn't need that, Salem was great for us. We weren't missing anything. Just keep that in mind that most places are shutting down between 8 and 10 p.m. Yes, there's a few places that stay open a little bit later than that, but they're far and few between. And again, you're not going to find this bar district or this club district or party area like you would in maybe some other bigger cities, or like especially like if an hour and a half up, if that's important to you, then you've got Portland you can certainly take advantage of. I find people living in Salem are less about that nightlife and more laid back, more relaxed, more about having a nice gathering at home or meeting up at the park or going on a nice hike at the trail, or you can meet at a restaurant but not staying out all that late. So if that's something you're looking for, you're going to be disappointed when moving to Salem. All right, con number 2 is the lack of options. Now, if you're coming from a larger city, you just kind of have to expect when you're downsizing in population and area that there's going to be less options. If you're moving from a similar size city, maybe this isn't as important to you. But for me, it was a little bit of a shock to my lifestyle because I was pretty much used to having so many different options of food choices, shopping districts, and other types of entertainment destinations that when I moved to Salem, it was a little bit of a shock to the system. But then I also realized when I think about my lifestyle in Los Angeles from the bigger city, I found the places that I enjoyed, especially like restaurants, and I would frequent those places pretty often. I would venture out to try new ones, but for the most part, I found my favorite spots and that's where I would go. It was almost like an illusion of options when you're living in a big city. So for a minute, I was adjusting and thinking, oh my gosh, there's not a whole lot of options for me here. But in reality, I didn't really take advantage of the options in the big city anyway, at least personally. Maybe you do, so this will affect you a little bit more. But when you're thinking about different types of food, other different cultural cuisines, there's not a whole lot of options for you. They are here, and there's more than one, that's for sure, but not nearly as much as you would experience in a larger city. Also, shopping districts. There's really not a whole lot of shopping districts in Salem. You've got the Willamette Town Center, you've got downtown area, and then that's kind of it. Then you got to go to our sister city, which is Kaiser, to the Kaiser Station, which has more shopping there. But if you're looking for kind of that big retail experience, you're really not going to get that a lot of options here in Salem. You really got to go to Portland if you want that. But when it comes to amenities like your supermarkets or your big box retailers, there's, again, not a whole lot of them, but there's certainly enough for you in whatever neighborhood and community that you live in that you're going to be close enough to get to where you want to go and get your shopping done. Again, it was more of an illusion of options when I was living in a big city. But coming into Salem, again, after that initial shock, I realized I got plenty of places I can go, plenty of restaurants I can enjoy, plenty of shopping I can enjoy, and plenty of amenities that meet my needs. Okay, if you made it this far, which I hope you have, we've got con number 3, and that is the weather. Now, this for me was a bit of a shock and still a bit of an adjustment for me, if I'm being completely honest, after being here for a few years. It is no joke about the Northwest weather, and Salem is no exception. It rains a lot here, and it is cloudy and overcast a lot here, and especially for me, coming from the city of Los Angeles, where it was sunny over 300 days a year, it feels like it's almost the opposite here. And it was a big adjustment. I didn't really have clothes for weather. Now, when I say it rains a lot here, it's overcast here, I really do mean a lot. It's about 8 months. Basically, from October through May, you're going to have gray skies, cloudy skies, rain. Now, it's not a downpour. It's not like this big storms are coming through and tons of water's falling from the skies. Although that does happen once in a while, it's more of this light kind of misty rain. It's just there. In some ways, that could be a little bit more annoying than just the downpour, because you almost feel like, look, if it's going to rain, just rain, just don't tease me. And that was a weird thing to get used to. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be gray every single day straight through those 8 months, but I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. It's gray a lot of those days, and maybe it's gray for half of the day, and you get a little bit of sun break for part of the day. But you just have to be ready for that. So if you're more susceptible to kind of seasonal depression, then maybe this is not the right move for you. Thankfully, I did come from a place that had lots of sun and I didn't get seasonal depression. Neither did my family, so that was good. And there's just things you get used to it. People here in the Northwest and you're living in Salem, rain doesn't keep them from doing anything. You go out and you go about your day. You can go for a night. You can go for a walk. You can still enjoy what the city has to offer. And it's no big deal for a lot of people here. Yeah, you're adding extra layers. And if you got family, it takes longer time to get your kids in and out of the house. But that's just the lifestyle it is here. You take it, you make do. You entertain your kids in the house more than you would in some of the more sunnier cities. Now, if your kids are active outdoors, yes, it does restrict them. And my kids are active, so sometimes they're looking out the window like, hey, it's raining again. This is like 7 straight days of rain. But thankfully, it hasn't affected them all that much. We find ways to entertain ourselves inside the home or different activities in Salem. They've got indoor pools here at the gyms. They've got indoor activity centers, trampoline parks, these active centers that are indoors. So Salem is prepared for that, and they do offer entertainment zones that are indoors that you can take advantage of. But you do have times during the late spring and summer where the sun is out, it's beautiful weather, the temperature is near perfect, the skies are blue, everyone's out and about and enjoying outdoors and getting together as a community. And the weather is just actually simply amazing during that springtime and summer. And so it's not all rain, clouds, and rain. By the way, you do get some snow here, not a whole lot, and depending on the elevation where you are in Salem, you'll get more than other parts. Some snow that sticks, but it snows like maybe 1 to 2 times throughout the year, which for me was kind of cool. It doesn't last all that long. Get to enjoy it. The kids have fun sledding in the neighborhood, but it's not something you need to worry about where you're chiseling ice throughout the entire winter, just a couple times. And so in that sense, if you're moving from a city that snows a lot, you don't have to worry about that too much. But gray skies, cloudy skies, it does rain, so just be prepared for that. And but once you're here, you're going to find ways to navigate that. And again, when you meet people that are from here or that have lived here a long time, they don't let it get in the way of doing anything. All right, con number 4. Now this is from perspective. Now, con number 4 is going to be the cost of housing. Now, some of you may be shocked because if you're coming from a big city like myself, cost of housing was amazing. It is a lot less expensive than Los Angeles by far. Came from one of the most expensive cities in the country. And if you are coming from a major city, then you can expect a kind of a discount and you get a lot more for your money here. But for people that are moving from similar sized cities, it's actually a bit more expensive than your average or your median price in similar sized cities. I'm going to go over a quick rundown of just 4 general areas in Salem about the median price. And again, for you that are moving from big cities, this may be music to your ears as it was for me. But if not, or if you're moving from a smaller city to Salem, the sticker shock can be there. So when you're talking about central Salem, kind of that downtown area, you're looking at about $340,000 for a median priced house. If you're going to be moving to or living in South Salem, then that's one of the most expensive areas in Salem, and that's going to be a median price of $480,000 for a single family home. If you're moving to West Salem, that's where I live, then the median price is going to be about $460,000. And if you're living in the northern portion or northeastern portion of Salem, then it's $430,000. Now again, this may be amazing prices for people moving from major cities, but if you're moving from similar size or smaller cities, this can be expensive. And I do hear it from people that have actually lived here a long time, how the cost of housing has gotten quite expensive pretty quickly because a lot of people from big cities like myself come in and are driving up prices. I know that's why a lot of people aren't big on people moving from big cities to Salem for other reasons too, I'm sure. But that has been the experience of a lot of people living in Salem, is that the cost of housing has gone up pretty quickly over the last handful of years. All right, we're going to be talking on our fifth con, but again, make sure you're staying to the end because I do have one more really cool pro that you're going to want to hear. But number 5 on the list is going to be the homeless population here in Salem. Now, again, if you're coming from a large city, and I know I sound like a broken record, but a lot of people moving to Salem are from large cities like myself. large cities comes with homeless problems. Not all of them do, but like city of LA, massive homeless issue. Nobody does anything about it. Progressively getting worse. And other big cities are experiencing something similar. But I've also traveled a lot, and I've been to big cities that don't necessarily have that problem. However, when you move to the city of Salem, you can expect to experience that issue. And from what I understand, it's not really improving much. They've tried to take different measures, and they do different things to help the homeless and the unhoused people here in Salem, but it doesn't really seem to be doing anything. But the thing is, unlike other big cities, it's not really spread throughout the entire city. It's mainly in a portion of the downtown area, and not all throughout downtown, although you will see that homeless element throughout downtown, but it's really kind of kept to a particular area. There's a park that's downtown. There's also a homeless shelter that is downtown. Unfortunately, it has gotten into some of our parks along the Willamette River where you'll see that, and there are people that are seeing needles in the ground, a lot of trash, there's a lot of shopping carts, there's tents that come up sometimes in the downtown city blocks. Now the city will come by, the police will come by and do their sweeps, but it doesn't really solve the problem. I'm not going to get into politics about this. Some people say it's the cost of housing that may be a part of it. I don't personally think it's the main part of it. However, there are a lot of people that are affected by it. There is a mental health issue crisis that's going on throughout the country. I think that's a big part of it. There's also a drug addiction problem that's exacerbating the issue as well. And unfortunately, the city, the state, and the country really hasn't come up with the solutions. And I'm not saying I have the solutions. I'm just saying when you come to Salem, be prepared to see that in parts of downtown. Again, you're not going to necessarily be impacted by that where you're living, but when you're going into unless you're living in the downtown area. But outside of that, you're not going to really be experiencing that in your day-to-day. But just be prepared that just because you're coming to a smaller city, if you are coming from a larger city, that like it's not going to be there. We're not that small of a city. We're not talking about a population of 10,000 people or even 100,000 people. So just be prepared for that. All right, we've got to the bonus section. I'm glad you made it here because this is really cool. You probably know about this in your research that you've done moving to Oregon, but when you're moving to Oregon and Salem, there is no sales tax. Now that's really cool. It's not like a big driving factor of why we made our decision to move here, but it was a bonus. I mean, some states have no income tax. That's pretty awesome too. But not having a sales tax is nice because the price you see is the price you pay, and there's no surprises at the end of your bill when you're at the market, at a restaurant. And so that is a bit of a bonus because your dollar goes a little bit further. Now, some say it'll even out with your property taxes here, but me personally, I came from a place that our property tax rate is pretty much the same. So that hasn't changed outside of our cost of housing went down. So in some ways it was better for us. But some people say, and the numbers show that our property taxes can be higher than some areas. Our state income tax is not on the bottom part. It's also can be seen as kind of on the higher end of things, not the highest by any means, but up there. But it is nice. You get the bonus of no sales tax, and I really like that. For me, I came from a place where I paid sales tax, income tax, property tax, and of course other taxes. So it's nice that I get a break on one of those because we get taxed a ton. And again, not getting into politics here, but we all feel it, however you feel about it, we're all paying taxes. So it's nice not to have to pay a sales tax. So that's your bonus for moving to Salem, moving to Oregon, and I'm sure you'll enjoy that part of it. How can you complain about no sales tax? So make sure, again, you subscribe, hit that like button again. If you like what you see, comment below. I'd love to hear about your thoughts about moving to Salem. And again, reach out to the contact information below. My team and I love helping people move to and from, even out of Salem, if that's what you're thinking. But we do help people relocate here all the time. We did it ourselves. My family did it, so I have that experience. I give you the ins and outs. Stay tuned for other videos, and we'll see you on the next one.